Shalom everyone, this is Rabbi Cantor Steve Texon of Cuban Hebrew Congregation, Temple Bet Shmuel, greeting you once again for our weekly Shabbat video session. Today is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer. Those 50 days between Passover and the holiday of Shavuot. We began counting on the second Seder night. These 50 days, Chamishim Yom, 7 weeks, as we proceed from the holiday of Passover to Shavuot. The journey from Egypt to Mount Sinai. The pilgrimage, the annual pilgrimage, of giving of the Bikurim and of the Omer, the measure of barley and flour, to be given as gifts at the Holy Temple, centuries later, after the Exodus. These are very special 50 days. And while our weekly Shabbat video sessions deal with the Shabbat portions, and this week we again have a double portion and we will conclude the book of Leviticus, I want to spend a few moments on Lag BaOmer and this period of the 50 days. We are in lockdown still during this pandemic, and again the incredible coincidence of being in quarantine, in lockdown, at home, with all the precautions being taken, to the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai of ancient Rome, the founder of Kabbalah, the Zohar, and his quarantine, and his going into hiding after rebelling against imperial Rome. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai had to go into hiding during the Sphira, this period that we've been talking about now. He was a disciple of Rabbi Akiva, great Tanaitic sage, Talmudic sage. And during this period, a terrible plague befell the students of Rabbi Akiva. And they were smitten by the plague. But on Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, of this 50-day period, the plague lifted. And the students of Rabbi Akiva were spared. And therefore, on this day, we celebrate a salvation in the middle of this period of what is really mourning for the students of Rabbi Akiva. And years later, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai emerged from hiding after his rebellion against the Roman Empire, also on the 33rd day of the Omer. So it's a day of celebration. It's one of the happiest days of the year. How do we celebrate it? We have picnics, we have campfires, we gather together. We start to cut our hair, which we abstain from during a period of mourning, and we schedule weddings. The 33rd day of the Omer, Lag BaOmer, is a wedding day. Now, Orthodox Jews maintain the mourning period for the entire 50 days. More progressive and conservative and Reform Jews resume normal activity for the remaining 17 days of the Omer, following the 33rd. So, but in either case, the 33rd day, today, Lag BaOmer, is a great day of happiness and rejoicing. So, back to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, when he emerged from his hiding in a cave in ancient Rome, when he first emerged, he was very angry because he saw people still not observing God's laws. And he was enraged. So he was advised to return to the cave and go back into hiding and contemplate how he was going to face the real world. And so he did. And when he emerged, after a period of time from the cave, once again, his attitude was totally different, and he approached society and he viewed society through a different lens of tolerance and of kindness. So the question is, when was Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai ready to emerge from hiding, from the cave? He emerged too early the first time. He wasn't ready. We face this dilemma right now as we live through this pandemic. When are we going to emerge from our homes, from taking all the precautions, in a way, from distancing ourselves from society? Are we ready? There are very hopeful signs now that even as early as next week, we will slowly begin to lower the restrictions, ease the restrictions with modified precautions. Are we ready? If we're not ready, we could have a second wave, a backlash, as we all know, and God forbid we could be back to square one. So there are great lessons here from ancient Rome and from the period of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai about how we view society and how we relate to each other and how we behave generally. A lot of the tragedies of the Jewish people also occurred in great severity during this period of the counting of the Omer. There are references to the intensity of the Holocaust occurring even during this period. And in the Parashah of the week, Bechukotai, on this Shabbat, we read about the blessings that God will give us and also about the terrible punishments that would befall us if we disregard God's law. The tochecha, the rebuke, is mentioned in detail. However, our sages tell us that the blessings, thank God, far outnumber the rebukes, the curses. But they're in the Torah just as well. And they came to realization in Jewish history over the centuries, culminating in the worst tragedies of our history during the Holocaust. So while the counting of the Omer represents hope and looking forward to the revelation at Mount Sinai, it's also a period of heaviness and a mixture of the bitter and the sweet. The hope of the journey to Sinai and the revelation of the law and the bringing of the Bikurim to the Holy Temple on the 50th day on Chag HaShavuot, it's also laden with fear and trepidation and memories of a plague that befell our people in ancient Rome, and also alludes to the memories of the tragedies of the Jewish people. But on Lag BaOmer, we celebrate. And on this day, we can revive our spirits as we continue the march toward the revelation at Sinai, the culmination, the apex of our faith, the fiery summit of Sinai when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to receive the law. So let us renew our faith, draw the inspiration from Lag BaOmer, and continue the march forward. The march forward in science and in research to rid ourselves of the current pandemic, with all the testing, all the tracing, all the guidelines, and God will show us the way. He showed us the way to Sinai, He redeemed us, and He will redeem us again. And please God, we will have a session later in the month, culminating with Shabbat, Shavuot. At the end of the month, we will be reciting Yizkor, and we will celebrate the giving of the law, the sine qua non, our Torah, our fountain of life, our tree of life, and we will cling to our Torah and our faith and our belief in God's ultimate salvation and redemption. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach.